good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Positive Business. And also welcome to my co-host, Marianne Snow of Sophiathink Consulting.
Yeah,
Thanks so
always
much
good to be here.
Yes, it's wonderful. Now, I am very, very pleased and actually honored to have on for the second time an amazing, I call him an icon in business, Kevin O'Leary. Kevin O'Leary is the author of the brand new book, Cold Hard Truth on Men, Women, and Money. And he's the national best-selling author of Cold Hard Truth on Business, Money, and Life, which is what we talked to Kevin about last time. And you may know the name. He is known as Mr. Wonderful, and he is one of the stars of ABC Shark Tank, which is on weekly. And here it's on Friday nights at 8. I try not to miss it.
I was going to say, isn't it one of your favorite shows?
One of my favorite shows. And it's also on CBC's Dragon's Den, which is out of Canada. Kevin founded and built SoftKey, the global leader in educational kids software, and the list goes on. But I really want to talk to Kevin. And welcome, Kevin O'Leary.
Great to be here. Thank you very much. I'm very happy.
Well, thank you. I've got to say something here personally, and it really and truly, I've talked to you a couple of times. I've talked to your wonderful assistant, Nancy. You really are Mr. Wonderful in the positive sense, but your bills is Mr. Wonderful in the negative sense. Is that just a persona, Kevin, for television?
No. When it comes to money, I'm pretty binary. Black and white, you either make it or you lose it. So, when I invest, I'm not trying to make friends. I'm trying to make money, and I really keep these things separate. I'd like to think of it as something that's very simple. When you're an investor, you have to take the emotion out of it. It's that simple.
Okay.
Yeah, but that makes sense. I mean, to me, it's from a business point of view, if you're going to be able to make a good decision, you need that level of objectivity. So it makes sense.
All right. The first part of your book is spend less, save well, and invest often. Explain that.
When you look at anybody, and this actually goes to business owners as well, I tell people to do this all the time. Take stock in the last 90 days of all that crap you've bought, and the majority of it you don't need. This goes from everything from clothing to goods and services that you just decided to buy because you're a consumer and you're hooked on buying things. It sounds like very basic advice, but the truth is over a long period of time, people take enormous amounts of capital that they earn and buy crap that they don't use. And it sits in the back of their closet or in their garage or in their dock, and all the junk that they took capital that could have been actually earning interest or growing as it had been invested, and it's now dead money. It's now sitting in a good or asset that's just appreciating. And that is a basic problem for people in their 20s, 30s, and 40s. And so they ask me when they end up in their 50s and 60s, how come I have no money? That's the reason. And I'm trying to change that behavior when I discuss it in Men, Women, and Money and all the books I write and when I teach. It's an emotional attachment to spending that is most people's disease.
Interesting. So do you think that people might spend more on one item instead of just buying it because it's on sale? Do you think buying it on sale might be a fallacy?
Definitely. What most people don't think about is how long that good or that asset's going to last them. My mother taught me something years ago. Even when she was a very young woman, she would buy clothing like classic Chanel jackets, which cost 10 times what something you'd buy on sale would be, but it lasted her decades. And her whole point was if you buy quality items and fewer of them, you actually end up saving a lot of money over time. And she was absolutely right. So my whole focus, having learned that lesson when I was 7 years old, is I've spent my life buying fewer things of better quality, and I've spent a lot less money. It's a basic premise that people don't think about. You just have to look at anybody's shoe closet, man or woman, and you'll find they wear 3 pairs and the rest they never touch. It's the same case all the time. You don't need all that crap.
But, I have a question for you because there's a couple of things. One is we live in a consumer economy, and so we have a lot of messages that are talking about durable goods and going out and investing in the economy. So people, the average person, gets a lot of interesting messages. On one hand, be a consumer. On the other hand, be smart with your money. What do you say to people when, they live kind of in a place where they're the average Joe? They're going to a job, they're getting a paycheck, they're trying to raise a family, and they may not think in terms of investment.
Well, there's a whole infrastructure in, and I'll just give you credit card companies. I'm an investor in credit card companies because they're very, very good in indoctrinating people to buy things on plastic, charge them inordinate fees for it, charge the vendors that sell it to them fees, and I collect it as an investor. I'm not, it's a good investment because it's a toll road to consumerism, but I'm not advocating people do that. The fact is it's a form of hidden tax. I say to people, just think pragmatically about this, because I'm not asking you to change your life dramatically. I'm just simply saying every time you're going to spend money on something, I don't care if it's a coffee that's they're charging you $2.50 for that costs 8 cents to make. Think about, does this really something I need right now, or should I just keep that money and keep it in an account that's accruing interest or growing? It's a very, very simple decision to make. And I'm just saying if you alter your behavior by just 10%, you end up retiring your debt when you're in your 40s as opposed to your 50s or 60s, and you end up a lot richer at the end of the game when you want your financial freedom. It's not like I'm saying starve to death, don't buy things, don't take your kids to the amusement park. None of those things are what I'm espousing. I'm saying that at least 10% of what you buy is crap. Yeah, and I don't think there's anybody that can deny that of me.
Right. I want to ask about midlife and retirement for those people in business, whether they're employed or whether they're entrepreneurs, and they're thinking about exit strategies at some point. What should they be thinking about for retirement?
If you have a business and you're thinking about an exit strategy, let's take the people that are employees first of all. They don't have businesses. They don't have anything they're going to sell anybody. What they should be doing their entire lives is taking up to 15% of their paycheck every single week and deploying that into their savings account. It is a mandatory must. It is an absolute necessity because they have no other way of amassing a nest egg for when they end up retiring at between 60 and 70 years old. That's the only way they can accrue it, which means they have to have the discipline from their early years to do that. And that's, I talk a lot about that in the book, is you have got to build. My son, who's 16 years old, takes 10% of everything he makes on those chores, what he does for neighbors, what he earns when he's working in the summertime, and he sticks it into an account, and he buys both bonds and stocks. I help him do it. I'm ingraining him with this philosophy because he has to make it on his own because he's not getting any of my money. After he finishes school, he's on his own. So he's getting the joke. This is what everybody that's an employee has to do. If you're running a business and you want to sell it one day, you need the stability of cash flow. You have to make it profitable and maintain that stability because buyers want to buy things that have stable cash flows. They pay a multiple of it. That's simple.
Yeah, well, we're really talking about having much more of a strategic approach to your financial life than most people probably do.
I'll ask you a simple question. When I teach in schools now and in high schools, they teach them geography, mathematics, physics, sex education. They never talk about money. Mm-hmm. How crazy is that? Like, just
totally
think about
crazy.
How perverse. Yeah. That's insane.
Well, I teach as well, and the kids that I'm dealing with, they wouldn't know how to manage their finances out of a paper bag, the majority of them.
So I'm calling everybody out on this now. I'm saying this is a major initiative. I certainly use the Shark Tank platform to talk about this, but the concept of what debt is, which causes the biggest problems both in marriage and in young people's lives, not understanding the evils of debt and what it does to you, it's worse than drugs as far as I'm concerned. If you get yourself in the 20s into a place where you can't afford to pay back your loans, the rest of your life is hell on earth. Mm-hmm. And that's why we have to teach kids at an early age, and every family and parent deserves to understand how important this is. This is something that has to be ingrained into our society. Every American has to realize that the core of success in life or failure is money. It's that simple.
All right, Kevin, now what do you say to those people who either lost their job, they've been through a divorce, and they have to start over? So they're not 20 anymore. They're 50 or greater.
Yeah.
What do you say to them?
The first thing is to scale down your expectation of what your life is going to be like for the next few years. And, I talk about in this book many case studies of exactly that. Devastating divorces, catastrophic health issues, things that have really wiped out families financially and how you survive that. The first thing is obviously you're going to need a job. So if you don't have one, you're going to have to get one. Even if it seems menial, the first thing to do is to move close to it so you don't need a car. I'm talking about really difficult situations here. So you have to scale down Move very close to where you can walk to work. Avoid spending anything that you don't need to spend on, and get very, very baseline, because now you've got maybe 10, 15, 12, 8 years to start to build a nest egg. And, there's nobody going to save you. No government agencies there are going to make sure you're all right. That's a fallacy today. So you have to really draw down on what you're spending. You have to minimize it. And just by walking to work, you save as much as $12,000 a year by not having a car. It adds up. Think about that every year for the next decade. That's $120,000 that you'll actually be making 4 or 5 or 6% off for the rest of your life. So things like that. You're not going to be buying any more expensive Starbucks coffees anymore. You're going to make tea at home. You're going to actually bring your lunch to work. You're not going to spend $8 on lunch anymore because you're going to make it for 2. These sound like basic things, but at the end of the year, even if you're working on a salary of $25,000, $30,000, I'm going to get you to save 20% of it. That's what I'm talking about. Wow. You have to do that. And it sounds traumatic and difficult, and by the way, it is, but it's doable.
All right, and we're going to take a break on that note. When we come back, if you'd like to call in and speak to Kevin O'Leary, Mr. Wonderful from Shark Tank, he's right here live on the phone. Great opportunity, folks. Here's your opportunity, 437-5000, 888-345-0790, 888-345-0790. Any questions about money, about cold, hard truth on men, women, and money, or business, money, and life? Call right here again, 437-5000. I'm here with my great co-host, Marianne Snow. I'm Patricia Raskin, right on AM 790. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Listening to Positive Business, and I'm Patricia Raskin right here on AM 790 with my terrific co-host Marianne Snow with SoftKey.com. And we have on with us the amazing Mr. Wonderful, Kevin O'Leary, who is one of the stars of ABC Shark Tank. He has a brand new book out. His new book is Cold Hard Truth on Men, Women, and Money. He's the national best-selling author of Cold Hard Truth on Business, Money, and Life. And I interviewed him, I don't know, about 6 months ago or 8 months ago on that book. And I'm so glad that he's back with us. You can call us at 437-5000 or 888-345-0790. Welcome back, Kevin. Okay,
Great,
now that we've scared a lot of our listeners who are entrepreneurs and older and worried about their future.
Good. I think a little fear is a good thing.
Yeah, as long as it doesn't, make you go in the closet and not come out, Kevin. Right, go ahead, Marianne, your question.
I was going to say, it's probably economical in the closet, so that might not be a bad thing. So we were going to talk, Kevin, we're going to pivot, and we're going to talk a little bit about entrepreneurism, because obviously this is something that's been your path your whole life. And so we were curious, do you have to be under 30 to be a successful entrepreneur today?
No, not at all. I mean, the press focuses on the 1 out of a million who have some remarkable technology advance that gets acquired by one of the internet companies for huge amounts of money. That's not where the majority of wealth is created. The truth is there's many great opportunities in America in all kinds of different sectors where people work hard, build businesses, hire 1, 2, 10, 20, 30 people. That's the majority of where wealth is actually created and where jobs are created. It's small businesses. And the bulk of those are not internet stories. They're real companies making money for people, providing services that people want to buy, and they're all over America. And that's really what the gist of building a business is all about. It's deciding that you want to control your own destiny. If you're going to fail, you'll do it by your own hand as opposed to being fired by some big company.
Right.
And that's what makes people wealthy. That's why America's great and what will make it great again. It's that simple.
Now, interesting, we've developed this ecosystem, and I would argue it's becoming global around entrepreneurism. You've got business competitions, accelerators, angel investors, VCs, and it's a career path. Colleges and universities actually taking that up as majors these days. How do you see that in terms of opportunities that it's generating, or is that a good thing? Is it helpful, or is it actually preventing people from going out and doing things kind of on their own?
No, I think it's useful to get tools. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, actually teaching entrepreneurialism is a debate, whether it's something that's inherent in someone's ability to manage risk or whether you can teach it. I think that debate will rage forever. But the truth is, I think in the last 5 years, most people have figured out there's as much risk working for a large corporation and getting fired as there is starting your own. At least you fail. You did it to yourself, and you can try again. So there's a huge renewal of interest in being an entrepreneur. You can sense it from what's happened with Shark Tank, certainly, and the focus on being an entrepreneur now goes down to people as young as 9 years old. I think it's all a good thing, and I think, controlling your own destiny financially is a dream for most Americans, and I think it's something that most people should realize at some point, because in the end, it's not about making money. It's buying personal freedom to have the time to pursue the things you want in life, and you can only do that with money, and that's a good thing.
Yeah. I want to go to Shark Tank for a minute, Kevin, because I watch it faithfully, and it's interesting. Sometimes, you will have people on, and they really don't have great ideas, and I understand that, but there are times that people come on the program, and they don't have the capital, they have an idea, and sometimes it seems because of their passion and their energy and their drive, you and the other sharks will support them. So is passion really important? Do you look for that a lot?
I make the assumption that every entrepreneur has passion, that it's a constant and a given. It's not a special attribute or trait. I mean, if you don't have it, no one's going to invest in you anyways. But It's not really what's going to determine success. It's execution ability. So I don't care if you're passionate or not. I want to see evidence that you can execute on a business plan. I don't care if you're the most boring person or the most passionate or the most animated. I don't care if you're a nice guy or a bad guy. It's can you execute on the business plan? That's all that matters. I keep telling people this all the time about investing. You're not trying to make friends. You're trying to make money.
Now, I've got this is kind of off topic a little bit, but curious. I was reading in Wall Street Journal, J.P. Morgan Chase and Morgan Stanley, they're doing some interesting stuff in London where they're coming back out with synthetic CDOs. So now when you're talking about investment vehicles and different ways that people are making money, these were some of the things that were kind of crucified in the financial crisis. What do you think about stuff like that?
I think if you look at the CDOs now, they're being priced after the fact that everybody knew they blew up. So all of a sudden, in a yield-hungry world, they're providing some pretty substantive yields, and people know going into them what the risks are. The challenge in that market is liquidity. When credit tightens, they go no bid, there's no liquidity, and that you can have your assets locked up. But today, you're being paid 3 and 4 times what a risk-free government bond would pay, and sometimes 6 times. And so some would argue that you're being paid for the risk you're taking. And in a portfolio approach, there's some truth to that strategy. I keep telling people, regardless to what asset class it is, it should never be more than 5% of your portfolio, and no sector should represent more than 20%. And if you use that as a rule, you'll never get stung.
Okay. Interesting.
All right.
Yeah, very interesting. Thanks.
Kevin, I want to go back to Shark Tank before we close. We have a couple of minutes. What would you say is the major ingredient that gets you excited about buying into someone's incredible idea when they're up there?
I love it when they have sales, when they've proven their concept and they've actually started and they're selling and it's working, and their challenge is they don't have enough capital to expand on an already proven business plan and model. To me, that's far more appealing than some concept that's unproven, so that they've gone through the process of defining what works. They may have tried one idea, didn't, and this is the one that's working, and they have a ramp rate in sales, and they're saying, I need $1 million to get this to be a bigger business, or I need $500,000 or $100,000, whatever it is, and I can actually see the path to success. Those are the entrepreneurs that I typically find. A good example would have been Wicked Cupcakes, the most simple commodity, and a great mother and wife team that needed $75,000 to kick it off. We took their sales from $16,000 a week in Boston, and we set up a retail outlet at Faneuil Hall just a couple of weeks ago. Our sales are $250,000 a week now.
They're good
that's
cupcakes
my
too,
idea
by the way.
of a business. Exactly, because I could see that they're very simple. They make the best cupcakes in America. We just had to let people know about it. They're almost 600 calories a cupcake. Now how about that?
Yeah,
but
they're
content.
good.
That's a fat
Great.
content with
Thank you.
lots
So,
of flavor.
Kevin, your closing thoughts about your book, Men, Women, and Money, Cold Hard Truth, or closing thoughts for our audience about money?
I think that every mother, and this I really mean this because women are the smartest about investing, it's true, and I'm a man and I know that. I think every mother should buy this book for their kids. They should read it themselves and actually run their family with the advice in it. And I'm not telling people this is going to make them rich. It's going to make them safe. That's what it's going to do. And I found it's, now that it's out there, lots of mothers are reading it and giving it to their teenage kids because there's a lot of great advice, and that's really what it's all about.
Yeah. Thank you so much for being on the program, Kevin.
Take care. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Stay on the line for a second if you can. Thanks so much. All right, folks. Next up is Mari Viveci from Inspiration Cosmetics right here on AM 790 on Positive Business with my great co-host, Marianne Snow from Sophiathan Consulting, and me, Patricia Raskin. We'll be right back.